those big-time games and the action that you need to know tonight, and it starts in the Association, Joe. Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Detroit Pistons. This line overnight at some outlets, Joe, opened up at -1.5. That's not what we're seeing right now. It's -3.5 at just about every outlet I'm looking at right now. If you take a look at the total, 225.5 overnight. That hasn't moved and is staying at 225.5. The Timberwolves on the road to take on the Pistons, and the line is increasing in Detroit's favor. What's your spread line tonight on T-Wolves-Pistons, Joe?
Well, listen, I mean, Minnesota really, as far as the seeding goes, really only needs to hold off Phoenix to get that berth in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs, and they lead the Suns by 4.5 games. So the Timberwolves, I think, have won 5 of their last 7 here. They did get Anthony Edwards back, which is important. But, you know, the big question is, what is Detroit going to look like without Cade Cunningham? And the answer is they're 6-2 without him since he's gone down. So it doesn't shock me, Detroit at home. Both teams had off last night, coming in here with the injury report looks pretty good for both. I don't think we're going to be expecting a ton of guys sitting in this one here tonight. So it doesn't shock me because Detroit has actually done a pretty good job here against Minnesota. I think the money is going that way for a reason here tonight. And I like Detroit, barring nobody gets, you know, all of a sudden last second, Durant sitting, Oscar Thompson sit. You know, everyone is sitting. I do think here Detroit holds serve at home tonight.
Let's go on the West Coast here and talk about the Golden State Warriors taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2 things we know. Cleveland's still trying to jockey for playoff positioning, but it looks like the Golden State Warriors, Joe, they're probably going to settle in as that 10 seed in the play-in. So they asked Steve Kerr just a few days ago, hey, when's Steph coming back? I was going to start screaming. There is no rush at this point. They just want him healthy for the playoff run. And then you see the line here, Joe, -10.5 as a favorite for Cleveland on the road taking on the Warriors, and a total of 227.5. What's that spread line for you here, Joe?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Warriors last night, they ran into the San Antonio Spurs. I think that had a 70-48 lead at the half, and that was pretty much all she wrote. But Porzingis didn't play with that in that game last night. Melton did. It's always important. I mean, they're shorthanded as it is, Golden State, so it's kind of important to know who exactly is playing for Golden State and who won't be. But listen, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're in the midst of a pretty long road trip here to end the season right now. They got caught last game. Are we expecting a bounce back? I mean, the Lakers beat them up pretty good there a couple of nights ago. I tend to think this is a good bounce back spot for the Cleveland Cavaliers here. Golden State is just, at this point, against decent teams, kind of unbettable.
By the way, who's going to want to take on the Spurs in the playoffs here? They even lose anymore at this point? Could they chase down OKC for that #1 overall seed? Crazy times. Joe Mazzulla, all he does is win, 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 no matter what. And after 200 games, the highest winning percentage in NBA history, Joe Mazzulla. Joe Ranieri, 723 is that winning percentage. He probably doesn't want to talk about it, but we will. Yeah.
At the right time in the right situation there. You know, everyone thought Udoka was going to be the future for the Celtics as the, that next head coach that was going to be Red Auerbach, going to be there 100 years. Yeah, that didn't work out all that well. And then this guy gets thrown into the fire afterwards. And what does he do, Donnie? He just wins games. And with the same superstars, by the way, and not a whole lot of controversy surrounding him. So talk about a calming effect. Right guy at the right time at the right place. That's for sure.
Right time, right place. That's how you get down to business. Right time, right place in Portland here. How about this news story? I'm going to read this because I had to do a double take. The Portland Trailblazers have been fined $100,000 for impermissible contact with a draft-ineligible prospect in connection with Yang Hansen during the 2023-2024 NBA season. Let me ask you a question, Joe, just getting through that. We'll get to the player in itself. Is one guy working on a stack of papers up to a ceiling that would be in the Empire State Building here where he can't get to anything before 2023?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. This whole thing was very confusing. And then you come to find out that I guess Portland ratted on itself. And that's the reason why this all came down. So it's it's very strange with what was going on there because this kid was, shall we say, pretty. I mean, he was pretty coveted around the league here for a lot of spots, but I don't know. Is Portland trying to do this, trying to do the right thing? I mean, I give him credit. I mean, at this point, you already lost your head coach to a gambling situation there, a controversy. So I think the Blazers at this point are looking at everything and being like, like send it over. We're good to go. Any line we might have crossed, let's go ahead and self-report it.
And by the way, it cost you $100,000. You drafted the guy. He averages 2.3 points per game, 1.6 rebounds per game. There, I mind you, he's 7'1", 270. But here's my favorite statistic, Joe. He shoots 31% from the floor. Aren't you, as a 7'1" center, stand under the rim, they throw it to you, and you just lay it in? Can the guy, like, we talked about a 7'9" center from Florida who can't get on the court, and now a 7'1" center who shoots 31% from the floor. That can't happen, Joe. It's got to be at least 80%. Come on.
Well, usually, guys that at 19, Donnie, when they were looking at, right, 7'1", 7'2", and you're like, oh, boy, they're going to have to feed this kid. I mean, it's not like he's not Chet Holmgren. I mean, like, this is a dude, he's 270 pounds. Like, you ain't pushing him around all that easy, and he still can't get it going there in Portland, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Help me out with this. The Celtics last night, Joe, came down to South Beach. They wanted to put on a show. They scored 53 points in the first quarter and hit 11 triples, a 20-point lead. Imagine being the Heat. You scored 33 in the first quarter, and you're down 20, Joe.
This was not a tough read last night of what was going to happen, which makes the Sixers' loss even worse for them, watching what Boston did when they came down and just absolutely dismantled the Heat last night. Listen, the Heat, you want to play fast, that's great. The problem is, you play fast and you give up 150 points a game, and they've done this now on a couple of occasions, Ani, where this game was never in doubt. I mean, yes, the Heat, I think the closest they got was 9 points at the end of the third quarter, but that was all she wrote. You already dug yourself the hole. There was no coming out of that. And Boston, listen, they are revving up here, getting ready for another title run.
Revving up is right. How about 147 points they scored in regulation against the Heat? A 147-129 victory down on South Beach here. You saw Brown, 43 points. Didn't we talk about that yesterday on the predictive markets where Joe says, hey, maybe if Brown can stay hot, it's his team. You heard the comments here. And then I told you, well, if he gets 30-plus points, that's a big ticket in your back pocket. 43-7 for the man.
We said it. I mean, he was making such a big deal after that loss the other day that he was to Atlanta, that he was like, it was the worst game I played. He still dropped 24, 20. It wasn't a terrible game for Brown, but in his mind it was, which you just kind of knew. Boston has owned Miami for a while now, and they're going to continue to own Miami because they can't get out of their own way.
Going to get to the awards market here in just a few moments. I'm going to bring that up. And by the way, last night we had the Spurs and the Warriors. As Joe pointed out, the Warriors are going to play again on a back-to-back tonight, still a double-digit underdog. The Spurs came to town, dropped 127 on the Warriors to beat them by double digits. But did you see Victor Wembanyama's stat line right there, Joe? 41 points, 18 rebounds. And we're waiting for this kid to actually understand, and his body to fill out at this point. What's on the horizon? It's scary.
It's very scary, but I mean, the matchup, once Porzingis was ruled out, what was Draymond going to keep him off the boards? There was nobody there on the Golden State Warriors that was going to be able to limit him in anything. And this has been the MO, Donnie, by the way, of the Spurs all year long. They will absolutely destroy you out of the gates. And then by the fourth quarter, Donnie, then it's just really, they can rotate in 5-6 other guys because you're already down 20 and you're not coming back no matter what the final score says. So the Spurs, they are a very interesting team. If I'm OKC, I'm not thinking I'm cakewalking right back to the NBA Finals again.
So if we go to the awards market and a chance for an MVP, it was a runaway with SGA. If I'm looking right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook here, SGA down to a -360 favorite, which is still a favorite here, but Wembanyama at a +300 now, quickly on those heels of SGA. And we know one thing. Who won the MVP last year was SGA. Voters love to say, you won it last year. Somebody's close. I'll give it to the new young gun at this point. This should be a close race throughout the end of the year. And again, if we're going to get efforts like we saw last night from Wembanyama and also, Joe, from Wemby and his team, who could catch OKC in the standings as well.
Yeah, 2 games separate them, right? 58 wins, 58 and 18 for the Spurs, 60 and 16 for OKC. Listen, Donnie, you show me anybody that if they wanted to start a franchise tomorrow in the NBA, right? Hey, you're Vegas, you're Seattle. You get to pick anybody from any team. Are you picking SGA over Wembanyama to start a franchise? I mean, it's not even close to me. I'm taking Wembanyama anytime. Without him, the Spurs, they're a decent team, but they are nowhere near what they are right now.
People are just starting to hate OKC as they're revving up here, certainly for a playoff and maybe a back-to-back championship run. They're going to take on the Los Angeles Lakers tonight from OKC, a 9:30 start, Joe. And if we take a look at this line, how about this? 8.5 in the marketplace overnight. You see the graphic. They're up to 9. Only about 25% of the tickets coming in on OKC. Hint, hint. Maybe a buy. But how about this? Could this be a playoff preview for the Western Conference, Joe?
Oh, very much so here. And keep in mind, the Lakers early on in the season, for about half the season, Donnie, they could not beat quality teams like OKC. Like, they were not beating they'd beat all the bottom feeders, but they wouldn't beat the bottom feeders teams. That was until over the last month or so when they started playing some defense. And now they're beating all the good teams. They just did it to Cleveland, who is, again, a 600 winning percentage team. Yeah, I think this is far too many points to consider that they're just going to boat race a Lakers team that's finally healthy.
Let's go to another LA team late night here. Spurs and the Clippers. The reason I want to bring this up is we just saw the Spurs played last night. Wembanyama went nuts. Does he play tonight, Joe? And the Spurs are still the favorite at -4.5.
Oh, he absolutely plays tonight. Because don't think that for 1 minute they don't know that he is right there in the MVP market. So, yes, I think he absolutely plays tonight. May not play the whole game, but he's playing here tonight.
Look at that. MVP chance to take the #1 seed here. And by the way, they do own OKC at this point right now. Fun times in the association. More hot topics on their way next. Only right here on the SportsGrid Network. So Thursday, getting down to the business here on the early line. It's Donnie Rightside and it's Joe Ranieri. We're going to welcome in Kevin Walsh. I wanted to bring him up right away because, history around the SportsGrid Network. We have a lot of fun times and a lot of clips go around to be like, man, just show me that clip and you get a good laugh out of it. Well, I brought one of these clips up to Joe Ranieri, Kevin, just a few moments ago. And you were live on the air with me when this happened. Do you know what I'm about to bring up here at all, Kevin?
No, I mean, that's Donnie, you and I have done a lot of shows together. The amount of information you have given me is simply not enough to make any type of guess.
And no, it's not looking at the return monitor of somebody trying to check in there that drives us nuts during Super Bowl shows or NFL shows. It's not that, Kevin. I was in this office space and let out a, ow!
When you got stung by a bee?
See that? I'm not lying. See that, people? I'm not lying.
Yeah, I mean, it did happen. If you're just looking, yeah. Donnie also, I think, once had a stroke during radio and took like a segment and a half off and came right back and just started ripping in Celtics Knicks breakdown. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I mean, it was a good time, that show. Donnie did get stung by a bee though, on air. That really happened.
I saved the beef for a while, Joe. And by the way, the stroke incident was we opened up the show, and I couldn't read the computer screen out of my left eye, so I just threw it to Kevin. Hung on for a segment, said, Kevin, I don't feel all that well. Now, this is how you know I'm sort of a maniac here, where I don't like to call out, and I don't care how sick I am. Joe, I went up in this 2 segments to lay down and try to take a nap, then came back, and Kevin's like, you can't do this. Why don't we just take the rest of the day off? I'm for the people, though, Joe. How about that? Almost had a stroke on the air and came back to finish the segment.
I'm just trying to think, did you keep the bee as a pet? Like you said, you held on to the bee? Like what happened to that bee after it stung
he was already dead. He was already dead at that point, but I found him, set him aside as like a reminder. But then the question always comes up, like, I'm in my finished basement in a corner. Like, how did a bee even get down there? And only one bee, and it found me and stung me on the hand in the middle of a segment. That's how we get down, Joe Ranieri. But we do got to get down to the business. I would like to reminisce the entire segment of the entire show, but we got big business to get to tonight. And that includes the Lakers and the Thunder tonight. Now, you might see OKC run away number 1 overall seed. Here come the San Antonio Spurs. You might think SGA, Kevin's going to be the MVP. Here comes Victor Wembanyama. But we might have a playoff preview here tonight. Lakers, Thunder, 9-point spread. How about that?
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun to follow here tonight. I do think that it's kind of impossible to look at this game not through this MVP race lens that we have going on. It's interesting though, right? Because Luka is somewhat a part of the conversation, and yet the odds would tell you it's really just Shea versus Wemby right now, 30-1 for Luka. Jokic also having maybe somehow the best statistical career of his season and having no chance to win league MVP is incredible as he's priced now at 100-1. I think the trick is, again, what's the Luka number that anyone feels comfortable betting under, where you go, okay, they've adjusted it too much for the moment. Like 32.5 against the Thunder defense isn't easy to come by. 30.5 for SGA. I mean, he usually gets there. So, I mean, is it just kind of a superstar special in a game like this? I guess maybe the question I would almost put back to you guys, and maybe it's rhetorical because there is no legitimate answer. Is there anything Luka and the Lakers can do to actually have Doncic in this MVP race where we start to ask ourselves, maybe Luka's going to win this award?
Joe?
Not as long as Wembanyama finishes it out. I don't see him overtaking, that kid. That's the problem here. I mean, all things being equal, LA market certainly is going to garner the kind of consideration there, top of mind. Those were all popularity contests anyway. But what Wembanyama is doing, unless he sits out the rest of the way to the postseason, it's kind of hard for me to fathom anybody takes it. Even SGA, it just feels like Wembanyama is on a different level right now.
I think the big thing that works for SGA versus Wemby, Joe, is just the record right now. And it's not a lot, but it's enough, I think. But if the Spurs were to catch OKC, then we have a completely different, I think, race on our hands here, right? And I know there are some people who the Thunder's schedule is harder than San Antonio's rest of season. But again, this is one of the toughest games OKC is supposed to play. They're still nearly double-digit favorites because, this team is just priced in a completely different stratosphere, really, than everybody else. I guess maybe just them and San Antonio, maybe full-strength Boston, what they did yesterday, I still somewhat kind of 53 points in the first quarter is just outrageous from that Celtics team there. So I'm looking at Thunder Lakers right now, and it's tough, though, because for the Lakers, we've talked about this, man, I want to say it was Knicks Thunder about a month ago, us three. And we're like, the Knicks don't have to win, but they can't get embarrassed. They can't get punked. And that's what happened. They lost a close one. If you're the Lakers, you don't have to win this game. You can't get embarrassed, though.
How about Spurs-Clippers tonight, too? And I asked Joe the same question. He had a pretty good response to this, saying, you know what? Wemby played last night, 41-18. He's going to play again. And Joe's like, yeah, they are 2 games back from OKC. He's in the MVP race. He will play, which brings us up here. Clippers and the Spurs tonight. What do we get out of Wemby? And by the way, just watching Wemby play, Kevin, if we're just looking like 2 or 3 years into the future when he adds like 10 or 15 more pounds and really understands the game, as if he doesn't at 41-18 last night, the sky is the limit. What do you think about the Spurs tonight? And also in the playoffs where they own OKC this year, don't they?
Yeah, they've had a lot of regular season success. We'll, see if we get to that series, but, and how it translates. For those, Victor Wembanyama, I believe, is now 25-1 in his last 26 games. The Spurs are 25-2. It just Wemby missed one of the losses, so it feels important to acknowledge. 3.5, though, some number, huh? This Clipper team, all of a sudden, is booked like one of the 6 best. It looks like in basketball.
The basketball god, Kevin Walsh. Do we call him that now? I guess we call him that now. Nice. We'll be right back after the break. Catch him on GTD. got NHL, NBA, NIT action tonight. Association is where I'm going, Joe. But where are you going tonight with your best bet?
I'm going to go to the association too, Donnie,
Nice.
and I love the value in this spot here. This line was as much as 6.5 last night. It's already starting to come down, and I agree with it because I don't see a lot separating the Phoenix Suns and the Charlotte Hornets right now. And to get nearly 2 buckets of value when, by the way, Mark Williams looks like he might make his return tonight for Phoenix, the big man. I mean, Booker is playing at a ridiculous level right now here. And Dylan Brooks is back, and the Suns have been a fantastic story, just like Charlotte. There's enough firepower here. The difference is that Phoenix actually plays defense. They've lost 5 of 6 on the road, Donnie, and I think that's why this number is a little bit high here. I like the point. I'll take the points, and I will sprinkle a little something on the Suns' money line tonight.
I also, going back to the association, took the stinky Utah Jazz. Of course they covered because everybody bet the other side yesterday. I'm going to do this a little bit different today. Lakers Thunder game. Nobody's bad in this game. OKC, Joe, is favored currently by 9 points right now. Only about 25% of the tickets are coming in on the Oklahoma City Thunder, which means Lakers, that's too many points. I'll take it. You know what I'm telling you right now? We're not taking it. We're laying the OKC. Smarten up, people. We're fading the public here with another W. Take those Thunder tonight to cover by double digits.